God, what did we just witness? Let's talk about NASCAR Cup, the And Better Health 400 at Atlanta. Come on inside the Scrutineering room, everybody. What's good, family? David here. If you have not seen the finish of the Cup race on Sunday, pause this video, go to X, take about a minute, and pick up where you left off on this video. My goodness, did we just see a race today? Not just the last 5 laps, but 400 miles, a lot of side-by-side racing. It looked like it was going to start like Daytona at the very beginning. That accident on lap 3, a couple of guys spinning, took themselves out. After that, field calmed down. We did have a couple of sporadic yellows to finish off stage 1. Stage 2 did go essentially caution-free until right at the end. Literally, as they were coming to finish the stage, we had another yellow flag that kind of ended the stage prematurely. But the final stage didn't get a green flag run over 20 laps. But honestly, with all the epic side-by-side, 2 wide, 3 wide, I think they even dared to do 4 wide. Don't know how they made it work. I've been to Atlanta a couple times. That was nuts. However, it was a wreck. Chase Briscoe, Todd Gilliland with 15 laps to go brought out the yellow, but NASCAR made the decision, red flag the race to get the track cleaned up. About 12 minutes. Thought I missed something, taking a call there late. Thought I missed something on the radio broadcast. Didn't miss a thing, and my goodness, boy, didn't we. One hell of a last lap, and Daniel Suarez, take a bow, kid. His second career win. The first non-American driver to win on an oval in 50 years. And only the third to do so. Daniel Suarez joining Mario Andretti and Canadian Earl Ross as the only foreign-born drivers to win a NASCAR Cup Series race on an oval. And he did it in the most dramatic of fashions. The third closest finish in Cup history, a photo finish 3 wide with Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch. Just absolutely, this is why you watch sports, because you don't know what's going to happen. We watch for the unbelievable, the absolutely mind-blowing insanity that we witnessed tonight. It was an unbelievable last 5 laps after that final restart at the end. Daniel Suarez, he led twice. He actually led before that final yellow flag. I think he led 8 laps and then stormed on the outside, which is what made his pass and his win so much more impressive. He went around the outside to make it happen. Sure enough, the victory piñata was on display on the front stretch. Hopefully he threw some of the candy to the kids in the crowd afterwards. But Freeway Insurance, Trackhouse Racing joining William Byron and Hendrick Motorsports in the playoffs now. And for those of you guys saying, fluke win, Super Speedway, blah, blah, blah. Danny's been good in Atlanta the last few attempts. And as you remember, he actually was running in the top 5. He was leading for quite a while before William Byron overtook him right before the rain came in the race in July. And even before then, Daniel was still in the top 10, top 15 all night before even they decided to throw the check of the dice with the weather coming. So Daniel Suarez has not been no slouch when it comes to Atlanta Motor Speedway. But tonight, everything played out literally exactly how he needed it to play out for him to get a win. And I'm gonna touch on this a little bit more in my 7 points on the weekend. But what a show! Daniel Suarez, bravo amigo, take a bow. Hell of a job to stay in there and give us one of the most memorable finishes any of us will ever see. And to Good Morning America, to the Today Show, to CBS Mornings, CNN, Sports Center, y'all need to get this footage on tonight. I don't care. Y'all need to talk about this, because this is what sports is meant for. This is what sports was made for. This is what it was meant to be. You cannot ignore what we saw tonight in Atlanta. Absolutely cannot. And honestly, I love that it is in February. Hopefully the weather stays like this. If they keep Atlanta in this slot for a while longer. 60s. I think it touched 70s today, but very good weather. Hopefully it won't be as hot when we go back to September to open the playoffs, but man, oh man, tonight was awesome. To those who were there, I envy you guys, because I could not imagine witnessing it in person. This was just insane. All right, let's go real quick. Top 5 through each of the 3 races from the Atlanta weekend. Gotta start with the headliner, Daniel Suarez's second career win Sunday in the Better Health 400, beating out Cup champ Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. Those 3 separated by a grand total of 7/1,000th of a second. The closest 3-way finish in NASCAR history, perhaps in the history of American motorsports. I'm pretty sure IndyCar will have an argument to say about that, but tonight's all about NASCAR. Sorry. Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace rounding out the top 5. Another great run for both of those guys. Bubba back-to-back 5th place finishes to start the season. Great momentum for him to carry into the remainder of the campaign. So hopefully we continue there. Shifting gears now, NASCAR Xfinity Series. It was the Jesse Love show until it wasn't Saturday in the Raptor 250. But when he did, a very familiar face came in to pick up the pieces. Austin Hill from Douglasville, Georgia, picking up his 3rd Atlanta win. He's won at least once in each of the last 3 seasons on this configuration of track. He won the fall race in 22. He won the spring race in 23, and now doubles up, goes back to back in the spring race at Atlanta, beating out another Joe Gibbs Racing Super. This time, Chandler Smith gets the runner-up spot. Shane Van Gisbergen finishes 3rd. I got a little bit more thought on him later. Sheldon Creed 4th. And how about Parker Retzlaff rounding out the top 5? And again, I'll talk about him as well coming up in my little weekend rundown opinion piece. Last but not least, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. They kicked off the weekend and extending his record with a 65th win. Ladies and gentlemen, Rowdy is back. Kyle Busch picking up his first win with Spire Motorsports Saturday in the Freight 208. Ty Majeski 2nd. Marietta's Corey Heim finished 3rd over teammate Taylor Gray, and rounding out the top 5, Daytona winner Nick Sanchez. And also a little call to the first guy right outside the top 5, Caden Honeycutt, 6th in his first race for Nice Motorsports. Definitely well earned in that truck equipment. Oh boy, what a day, what a weekend we had in Atlanta. And real quick, I just want to give you guys 7 big talking points to take away from me, and I'm just going to give you guys opinion about it. first things first, number one, I put on my list. Who said you cannot pass in Atlanta? Because I think all three races show, yeah, you can come up to the back and win, regardless of the situation. Daniel Suarez, our winner today, our winner on Sunday, started 23rd. Bubba started 18th and had an up and down day, finished 5th. You had Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who finished 6th, come from 27th. Ross Chastain, who finished 7th, came from 21st. Everybody coming up and down all across the plane. Even in the Xfinity Series, Parker Retzlaff, who finished top 5, he came from 24th. Jeremy Clements, who finished 6th, started 23rd. Jeffrey Earnhardt, who earned a top 10 finish in 8th, he started 22nd. And like I said, list could go on. And the biggest name in the truck series that made the moves, how about Taylor Gray, who started 31st, came all the way up, finished 4th. And that was despite not leading any laps. And if you really want someone who really had to make a pass, how about Roger Cruth on 2 separate occasions to start from the back after a flat tire and a penalty, still finished 8th with the fastest lap of the race. So all this stuff about New Atlanta, you can't pass, it's too tight, enough of that. It definitely can happen. You can definitely pass here. You got the power, you got the grip, and honestly, this is going to become more of a handling racetrack. Heard all of the major experts on NASCAR radio, they said as much going into Atlanta this week, and I can only imagine what the talk will be like when we get down to the nitty-gritty of the playoffs in September, at least on the Cup side. I don't think Atlanta will be an Xfinity playoff race, but it will be a race that will play heavily as we get down the home stretch of the Xfinity regular season. So for all this, can't pass Atlanta, Super Speedway, you can't do nothing with it. I think tonight's ending show, Atlanta will be perfectly fine. Point number 2, how about Xfinity driver number 2? Has Jesse Love arrived or what? 2 races, 2 pole positions, and the kids already led a grand total of 191 laps. 191 out of a possible 289. That's just ridiculous. And oh, by the way, he didn't make any Xfinity race. He made a couple of truck starts last season, but he never ran any Xfinity races before he made his move to Richard Childress Racing for this season. And even in his post-race interviews, despite having a dominating car not finishing the day off as it should have, you did not even hear that in this 19-year-old. The kid is as mature as I've heard any rookie in a long time. He's got confidence in his crew chief, Danny Stockman, who is well known for crew chiefing young talents in the Xfinity and NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He's got a veteran Xfinity teammate in Austin Hill, who has been the beneficiary of Jesse's bad luck, for lack of a better term, this season already. But even more so, that team is feeding off that wheeling crew. And right now, rising tide is lifting all ships, and Richard Childress Racing is showing that they are going to be a tornado to reckon with in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I'm not just saying that to be funny. They have the potential to really do some wrecking house all season long. it's only a matter of time before Jesse finally reaches victory lane in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. It could come next weekend in Las Vegas. I still have to see what RCR can do with a 1.5 mile intermediate oval short course package, but I don't have any concern with Richard Childress Racing. Jesse Love, Austin Hill, they are going to be forces to be reckoned with, and Jesse Love is showing that immaculate run he had in ARCA last season was just the beginning, and that was no fluke by any means necessary. Number 3, Spire is definitely a force in the Truck Series, that is. While the Cup Series team is still trying to get their footprints together, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series side of the house is firing on all cylinders. The team started off 2 for 2. Remember, Nick Sanchez's Rev Racing team is a technical partner with Spire. That, with Kyle Busch driving the 7 to victory lane on Saturday, shows that Spire Motorsports has picked up right where Kyle Busch Motorsports left off with their truck program. Spire, we knew that they were on the right track. They were starting a truck team, did some part-time races. Most memorably, Kyle Larson got in that 7 car in North Wilkesboro and straight wrecked house on the way to victory lane. What was a weekend sweep, no less. But there is a lot of positive vibes going on with Spire Motorsports. You have Nick Sanchez with that technical partnership. Basically, Rev Racing basically has the trucks built out of that shop to go racing. You got that all-star car. Corey LaJoie gave it a great run. Kyle Busch is now one in it. Who knows who else we'll see in that truck this season. We know Kyle will have 5 races. Well, assume 4 more races, I should say. And he's 1 for 1 in the truck already. Even in the other full season trucks, Raja Karuth is showing he has speed. And I'm still in the camp. It's only a matter of time before the cards all fall right for Raja to finally get over the hump and claim that maiden truck win. He's got great partners with HendrickCars.com. If Rick Hendrick's Automotive Group is sponsoring you, you are definitely someone who's got a lot of talent, and him putting him in his Xfinity car back in November at Phoenix was definitely a sign of a lot more things to come for Raja. Even in the rest of that team, you still got a lot of great promise and a lot of valuable insight. Chase Purdy's still coming into his own, and that's in the 77 truck. He finished 15th on Saturday, but still a lot to bring together in that Spire Motorsports team, but definitely showing a lot of promise. And like I said, with Nick Sanchez showing what that equipment can really do, even in a offset standpoint, that essentially is a 4th Spire truck. So Spire definitely in the truck series, a force to be reckoned with, firing on all the cylinders. And I'm telling you, Raja Karuth, Chase Purdy, it's only a matter of time before those guys get their acts together, and they're going to be right there in victory lane as well. Next up, number 4, let's talk about the Xfinity Speedway package. And a lot of people said it. Saturday's race in Atlanta was a snoozer. It was a dud. And honestly, if it wasn't for a few mileage race, it might have been a little bit of a worser label. Of course, it kind of saved some people, but it didn't save Jesse Love from victory. But this is something NASCAR may have to look into, but they may have their hands tied. if you were listening to NASCAR Radio, you probably heard a little voice that sounded like this say NASCAR has their hands tied because, technically speaking, what can NASCAR do to kind of rid themselves of a fuel mileage problem like this? There really isn't. You could play with the horsepower a bit, you could play with the size of the fuel tanks, but outside of that, besides messing with the race distance, we have what we have as far as speedway packages. Sheldon Creed, in his post-race interviews with PRN, with Fox, with Sirius, very vocal about the racing capability of this package. And Sheldon was very quick to remind us, we'll use it at Michigan, we'll use it at Indianapolis when the Xfinity Series returns to the Oval in July. What can be done to salvage this package? And hopefully, and perhaps the bigger question is, will we have these same issues? And if so, how will the racing look? Only time will tell, but it's going to be a very, very, very interesting time with the Xfinity Series and this Speedway package. We don't want fuel-saving races. A lot of drivers said it was very rough, but the late yellow did allow some teams to top off, and that's what probably saved this race from being as quote-unquote boring as it could have been. So, again, who knows how things would have worked out. That actually brings me to point number 5, a tale of 2 days. Sunday was the absolute epitome of New Atlanta, while Saturday, not quite what everyone was hoping to see with both the truck and the Xfinity Series. Granted, you could easily say the truck series was trying to kind of have damage control, and even that kind of didn't work out, considering we still saw 7 yellows on the afternoon in the truck series. The Xfinity Series was a much more cleaner affair this time. Only 4 yellows slowed the race, and of course the 4th yellow sent us into overtime with that very lengthy yellow right there at the end. But the big thing about them, by the way, you gotta add reminder, 2 in each of these races were for stages, so that kind of gives you a little bit more leniency on the Xfinity Series. Truck Series, though, they did keep it pretty well tamed throughout, especially considering this race did finish in regulation. So, for the Truck Series, maybe a little bit of mitigation, a lot more calmness. I think from the fan base, is a much more welcome sight. But as far as that, and compared to today when you saw the stars of the Cup Series just ripping it 2 and 3 wide around Atlanta for 400 miles, yeah, they had yellows. They had 9 of them, 2 of them for stages, we know. But again, we're kind of getting to that place of this is New Atlanta, and who knows, it might just be better suited for certain cars than others, or it might just be a place where we still need to figure out how, and maybe NASCAR work on this, how to get the most out of the Speedway, the Super Speedway package for trucks and Xfinity in the races that come forward. Trucks only race Atlanta once a year, so they don't have to worry about the Super Speedway package again until Talladega, which is all the way in the playoffs when we get to them in October. So at least they have that saving grace. As far as the Xfinity Series, of course, they come back in September, and this race is going to play right into the latter half of their regular season. So a lot more on the NASCAR Xfinity Series side when it comes to the Super Speedway package, and I did mention that a little bit more ago. Number 6, let's talk about 2 guys in Saturday's Raptor 250 in the top 5 that really that really made some names, and that's Shane Van Gisbergen and Parker Retzlaff. Listening to Shane in his post-race interviews, of course, when you're top 5, they're going to be coming asking for a word. Shane really sounds like he's having a lot of fun. He's still learning the series, still learning his competitors, as he admitted in one of the interviews. But you can tell he's just enjoying it. He's going with the flow. He's not pissing nobody off, which is a very big thing for a rookie. But true to form, and I think a lot of us who have seen Shane perform in other series in the past, this is not surprising to us. Anytime he gets into something, he picks up on it very quickly. It is a knack he continues to showcase over and over again. And for him to be third in only his second super speedway race, only his second Xfinity start, SVG is showing us, give him a little bit more time. He won't be winning on just road courses in Xfinity. He's going to grab him an oval win before too long. Now, with that being said, again, first 2 races were with the super speedway package, and things have been very unpredictable. But a 12th and a 3rd by no means is nothing to scoff at, and who knows how he will run Las Vegas and Phoenix and Martinsville when we get to them a little bit later in the spring. It's going to be a very interesting. I know Martinsville is going to be a very testing weekend for Shane because of Martinsville. Yeah, he ran IRP in the trucks. Martinsville is nothing like IRP, so that's going to be a very big learning curve for SVG when we get there. The other guy I want to talk about, Parker Retzlaff. Parker is really starting to show what this Jordan Anderson team can do. Again, showing a lot of promise. Only his 44th start, and already he's doubled his top 5s from a year ago. And we're only 2 races in to this young season. Already an average finish of 4th. And and like I said, after 7 top 10s from a year ago, Parker's really starting to show improvement. Parker is a lot, and honestly, Parker is the latest in this roving generation of names who Raja, William Byron got their starts on iRacing and translated their iRacing skills into real cars. And now here he is, his second full Xfinity season driving for Jordan Anderson. And he's starting to really show us he has a lot of skill behind the wheel of this car. Hasn't managed to find victory lane yet, but I feel it might only be a matter of time before we see Parker really contending for wins. Again, he finished 4th last week in Daytona, 5th Saturday in Atlanta. I'm interested to see if he can keep this momentum going into the West Coast Sprint with Vegas and Phoenix. If he does, Jordan Anderson might have a gem on his hands in this young 21-year-old. So keep an eye on this kid, Parker Retzlaff. I think with this team, he might be coming to roost. And remember, Talladega's coming up in about 2 months from now. Watch out for him when we head to Dega as well. Number 7. Last but not least, has Daniel Suarez saved his ride? I will say this, he's done himself a lot of good if so. Your second career win, locking yourself in the playoffs for the second time in 3 years. I definitely think he's made himself a very, very big prospect if Trackhouse does choose to let him go by the wayside, especially with SVG and Zane Smith waiting in the wings. It's going to be, I got to see a little bit more, but I think Daniel is very much looking to stay put. I think Justin Marks wants Daniel Suarez to stay put. I've heard so much about how much Trackhouse and his team do believe in him. I think that's one of the big reasons why they made the crew chief change. Travis Mack out. Matt Swiderski came in, and already his second race atop the box with Daniel. They've already found success. Can they keep the momentum going into the intermediates and on the short tracks and on the miles? We know super speedways can be a little bit of a crapshoot. With that being said, Daniel did finish second last July when the rain came, and he was still in the top 10 running well before the rain even made an effect on the race. The only thing I feel that could stop Daniel Suarez is himself, really. I think his consistency needs to be a whole lot better going into and throughout 2024. I'm saying going into, but we're already into it. But throughout 24, he's got to show, he needs to continue to show consistency. He has to continue, he needs to show that, hey, this isn't no fluke. I'm not just no one-off. I'm not just a guy gaining a win here and there. But for him to kind of really shake off this label and to show that he continues to be Trackhouse's equally strengthened driver, he has to make sure he's still in the top 5, still in the top 10, continuing to win. Continuing to be a force to win, I should say, week in and week out. We see Ross being a contender week in and week out. While last year wasn't what we saw in 2022, Ross still found victory lane multiple times. Something Daniel cannot say he did last year, but definitely going ahead and getting this win right out the gates is definitely a huge step and something very big, because I remember, and I think I was one of those, could this be big with Daniel Suarez, especially considering you got Zane Smith in the third Spire car, you have SVG and Xfinity, and he's only going to get better with every week because that's how SVG rolls. I did see this today. Justin Marks and Pitbull might want to start getting some money up for a third charter. I think Pitbull's World Tour might be financing that, because all these drivers that are talented and can win, don't get me wrong, if you're Justin Marks and Pitbull, it's a great problem to have. But that's going to be my take, and that's my rundown on the weekend in Atlanta. What do you guys think of what I think is one of the greatest finishes ever? Maybe the greatest finish ever. Sunday night in the end, Better Health 400. Like this video. If you feel so inclined, subscribe. Check out my playlists of all the other Scrutineering Room episodes. Some are a little longer than others, but give us a watch. You won't regret it. Gonna drop this video a little bit later. I got a couple of others coming later this week, because I'm telling you, it was a busy week in the world of motorsports. I got another Two Wheel Tuesday coming out, and so much more. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming along on the ride with me. Thank you so much for coming inside the Scrutineering Room. I'm David. I will talk to you guys next time, but until then, keep a smile on your face. You look much better when you have one. So long. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.